But we have another presenter. Heleen?
Hey, Heleen.
Hello, everybody. It's such a privilege to be here. I've been enjoying all the chats and it's been really very, very interesting. So it is such great privilege to be here. I really want to thank you guys.
Well, before you start your presentation, please introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from, what are you doing, please?
Okay, great. So I'm Heleen, as you've mentioned. I am from South Africa, close to Johannesburg. I'm a mother of 3 kids, one in university, one in high school, one in the primary school. So I've got lots of experience with the kids, and I do what we call genetic brain profiling and the wonderful world of knowing your genetic brain profile. So that is what I am going to share with you today. So if you guys are ready, then I can start my screen.
Please.
All yours. We
do see it.
We see it.
Thank you. Lovely. So first of all, just want to thank you. Thanks to Celeste from the Institute of Inventors and Innovators that's invited me to be part of this today. It's really a privilege. So why do we have a brain profile? First of all, for survival. Can you imagine if you have to run away from something and both your feet start running at the same time? You're going to hop or fall down. So that is one part of our genetic brain profile. Also, to distinguish intellectual talent. Our GDP also indicates our unconscious preferences. So that is what irritates us. What is our natural talents? The great thing is it can predict unconscious behavior at work or school. So why the choice of a genetic brain profile? Because it cannot be manipulated. It is part of your DNA. And as genes determines the color of your eye, it also determines your brain dominances. Great thing is we can already do the assessment at the age of 5 years old. It will never change. Once we have done the profile, we will know how you will interact with people, think, and behave emotionally. And that's why we want to capitalize on your strengths and compensate for your challenges. So how is the test done? We test your brain dominance. We see if you are right brain or left brain dominant. Then we also assess the hands, the eyes, the ears, and the feet to indicate your unconscious preferences and strengths and weaknesses. Certain dominances indicate certain talents. And if we know what your natural intelligences are, we know what type of training and exposure you need to develop them further. So knowing your brain profile will definitely give you a competitive edge, whether you're a child at school, whether you're a student, or whether you're in the working environment. So let's just have a little bit of a look at what the brain dominance differences are. First of all, we look, if you are left side dominant, you are most probably more structured, you like routine, you plan ahead, but you feel insecure with unpredictability. It's those guys that ask all those questions. Who, what, when, why, how, where? But they don't like change. So if we deal with left brain dominant people, it's good to prepare them for change and give them adequate warning so that they can be prepared. Natural talents are administration and organization. Then we have a look, sorry about that. We need to go back. Then we look at the right side. The right side is your creative side. It thinks outside of the box, likes challenges, but loses interest as soon as something becomes predictable or boring. It's your good brainstormers, but it struggles to finish tasks and projects. We sometimes call them the gypsies, but they need strict guidelines from childhood to teach them how to finish products. So I want to show you a profile J. It's one of our profiles, and we call it the catalyst for positive change. As you can see, this profile has dominance all on the right-hand side, except for the ear. So now you would ask, what can you tell me if you know this person's profile and you know this is their dominance? I'm going to show you something, but it's a little bit information of what we know. It's just to give you an idea what we can get out of this. Obviously, this is a right-brain person who dislikes predictability and repetition, doesn't always follow the rules, bores easily. The right eye actually shows us this person should be good at detailed subjects like maths and science. They can spot mistakes easily. They understand when something is demonstrated or shown properly. They see detail quickly. Usually it's your problem solvers, and they can actually look objective at something. The right hand, it's usually natural hand-eye-foot coordination, especially in this profile. The other thing we learn from the hand is how you would communicate. The foot, the right foot likes to prefer to run straight. It usually has good traction for launching, but it may have trouble in changing direction. Other stuff that we learn from the right foot is how you deal with confrontation and how you do problem solving. If we have a look at the left ear, the left ear is what we call our sensitive ear. It needs verbal recognition. It's sensitive to the tone of voice. It's also distracted by noise, but it's a patient listener. It's your natural musical ear, and it's usually your natural advisor. So this is just a little bit of information of what we learn from a profile. We also have a look at intelligences, and we work with 12 intelligences, and I'm going to show and name them to you. And I know for some of you, they might seem like big names, but I want to discuss two today because I think it's relevant with the innovators. But let me just name them. It's linguistic, logical mathematical, visual spatial, musical, bodily kinesthetic, naturalistic, interpersonal or then social, intrapersonal or intuitive, spiritual, componential, experiential, and then contextual or practical. One of the ones that I want to discuss today is bodily kinesthetic. That is actually the ability to use one's body skillfully to solve problems, to create products, or present ideas and emotions. So absolutely, this is usually there when we have a natural innovator. Lots of creativity. And I just want to mention, because lots of people think creativity is when you can draw and when you do art, but there's much more to creativity than just that. So of this bodily kinesthetic, it's so important because lots of our kids today are being said as ADHD or all those names. They'll put on medicines because they don't sit still in class. In the meantime, this is part of them. They need to move to actually take in the new information. And today, I just want to give advice to anybody out there, whether you're a child or whether you're an adult. Please sit on an unstable chair. I sit on one of these exercise balls. If you look at me, I can actually hop. It's very good because it helps us to have whole brain function. So let's go on with this bodily kinesthetics. If you don't have it as a natural intelligence, or even if you have it, what can you do to improve it? Use movement to learn. That is like sitting on the ball or using something in your hands. Build models, build machines, use technique Lego, do handcrafts, do martial arts like Tai Chi or karate. Go for field trips, go and experience places, go to museums, go to places where you can actually feel, see it, and have that extra experience. Also, things like finger snapping, clapping, stomping, jumping, climbing, dancing. Move, especially in today's day where we spend so much time in front of technology. It's very important that our kids do move. The other one is experiential intelligences. That is the ability to think and solve challenges with new and ingenious solutions. So how can we strengthen this? Read books or watch videos on famous inventors. Build 5 new things with the same Lego set. Debate how ordinary stuff can be used for different purposes. Do what we are doing at the moment, discussing and experiencing other people's information out there. Do the Edward de Bono courses on thinking hats, medal values, and action shoes. Now, I would love to, because this is lots of information, and I've got a video I want to show you. And unfortunately for your kids out there, it's not kids involved, but I'm sure you can associate, and maybe you see it in the house with mom and dad. But I just want to show you what an influence it can have when you actually know a person and your own genetic brain profile.
Of a couple and how their brain profiles work for and against them. John is right brain dominant, which makes him creative, like challenges, and prefer flexibility.
Sorry, guys.
Of a couple and how their brain profiles work for and against them. John is right brain dominant, which makes him creative, like challenges, and prefer flexibility. Betty is left brain dominant, which makes her prefer logic and structure. And you see where things could already go wrong between them? John has a sensitive left eye, which makes him good at reading body language. Betty has a sensitive left ear, which makes her sensitive to tone of voice. John's right ear makes him an impatient listener who wants everyone to get to the point fast. Betty's left hand makes her a natural communicator and she loves talking a lot. Since opposites attract, John and Betty fall in love and get married, but things can unravel soon if they are not careful. Let's have a look at a day in their life. John is on his way to work and says goodbye to his lovely bride. But she forgot to ask him what time he'd be home for dinner. And being the left brainer she is, she wants the food to be ready when he gets home and she needs to plan everything accordingly. So she picks up the phone.
Hi. Can't talk right now. Bye.
That phone call did not go too well for Betty. Strangely, John thinks he did nothing wrong and continues with his day. His meeting went well and he's in a good mood. But Betty is very upset about John's harsh tone on the phone, and she can't help but wonder what she had done wrong to have made him so mad at her. All day long, she thinks of everything she could have done that John would disapprove of, and at some point, she starts getting mad. Why would he use such a tone on her? He never considers her feelings. She only wanted to ask a quick question. Couldn't he have spared an extra moment to listen? By the time John gets home, Betty is fuming. And she didn't feel like cooking dinner either. John sees how upset his wife is, and he wonders what he had done wrong to get her so upset. He tries to explain, but she won't hear it. Pretty soon, he is just as mad as she is, and they are accusing each other of irrational things. Oh boy, did that go wrong. Sadly, if they had known their own and each other's genetic brain profile, that day could have gone so different. Everything is the same as the previous scenario, but when Betty calls John, this is how it goes.
Hi.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm on my way in Orchard. Can I call you back later?
Sure. Call me when you can. Bye.
Okay, bye. Love you.
Betty knows that John will call her when he gets a chance later. He might forget at first because of his right brain, but he will eventually call. And when he does, he gives her a time frame in which he will be home, because he knows if he gives a specific time and he doesn't make it, she will be upset. In this way, they can accommodate each other and respect each other for the way they think and do things. Of course, John's meeting went well, and when he gets home in his given time frame, Betty has a lovely meal ready for them, and they joyfully swap stories about their respective days. And that is the power of the genetic brain profile.
Great, thank you for watching. As you can say, just by knowing your own and the other person's profile, you can make relationships so much better. So, if we have a look at what is the goal of knowing your genetic brain profile, to help and teach you to use your strengths and sensitivities to your advantage, to show us how you function under normal circumstances and how you function under stress, as well as what causes you stress. Because remember in the beginning, I told you about the dominance and the running. So if we go into stress, our heart beats faster. Our body thinks he needs to make ready for survival, and then he switch off the non-dominant brain. And remember, always our brain and body works crossover. So the left brain helps to have the right side functioning and vice versa. So if you're a right brain dominant person, you go into stress, your left brain switches off, and all your right, we call it modalities, the hand, the eye, the ear, the feet, can't cooperate well enough, but we can help you with it. We can know how you hear and process auditory and visual information, which intelligences you are born with and which needs extra work to be developed, your natural concentration span, your natural patience levels, and whether you are prone to hypo or hyperactivity or not, your natural interpersonal skills, your decision-making preferences, specific relationship challenges and needs, and then obviously sports and hobbies. So who can benefit? Definitely kids and teenagers, because by knowing the profile, we will know what's the academic strengths and challenges, the learning style. We can help with subject choice guidance and career guidance, their potential related to the 12 intelligences, their preference related to relationships, and even tacit traits and talents which that child or person is not even aware of. If we have a look at career planning is the process of matching our aspirations with reality. It compares our understanding of who we are and what we can do with the requirements of the present and future work environment. Career planning does not have an age restriction. It's ongoing, it's active, and it's an honest process of exploration. It usually starts with subject choices in school and ending with our decision on when and how we retire. So to make a proper career decision, you need to know yourself and your own abilities. You also need to understand the world of study, the world of work, and the requirements of various occupations. This will enable you to identify the right courses to attain your career aspirations. We can actually match a specific profile with a specific career to see if it will be a good match or not. So who else can benefit? Adults, couples, and families, especially when it gets to relationships, conflict troubleshooting and resolution, helping parents to use the appropriate discipline structures, understanding if structure or flexibility is required, and then your inborn unconscious preferences. Also, corporate solutions or educational institutes can make use of this, because then we can distinguish the talents innately in each person related to intellectual, perceptual, emotional, and physical ability. For example, in the workplace, we will know what is the communication style, the management style, how would you work in a team, and then important, your stress profile. In the education environment, obviously, academic strengths and challenges and learning style. The great thing about this is we can do this assessment online, so it's reachable to anybody out there. I've already done international assessments in Germany, Austria, and America. And it is really, I just want to say it's been great to talk to you, and I'm available to answer any questions. And I really hope that you would find the realization how important it is, especially if you are inventing and you need to be at the best possible that you can be to know your genetic brain profile. Thank you, guys. Any questions?
I actually have about 3 questions, but excuse me. First, I'd like to ask Elena, did you catch all of that? Because the rest of us are adults and we've kind of like evolved into this body and personality, and we instinctually make adjustments. How do you feel about the fact that your body can respond in specific ways? And if you know that, you could make better choices. How does that make you feel?
I thought that was like really cool. And I was wondering if you could see my future, like if I was just a baby and could you see what I would do in the future?
You know what? Sorry, please finish.
Could you see what type of things I would do?
Okay, no, you know what? I can't see into your future. All that we test is dominant. So we just test what side of your brain is dominant, what side of your eyes, left or right eye, ears, hands, and feet. So it just gives us an indication of how you would react when you're happy and when things are all well, but especially when you stress, because that is when you're having problems. That is when you sit in school, and if you right brain dominant and you stress and your left brain switch off, you know, memory is situated in your left side of your brain. So you would struggle at school when you stress to get that information from your left brain. But if you're aware of it, there's things that you can do. But first of all, starting just to breathe deeply. You know, if you breathe deeply, you slow down your heartbeat, and that helps. We also give some brain exercises, especially for you to alleviate that stress. So sorry, I can't tell your future, but I can assist in which school will be the best for you, what careers will be the best for you, what things will irritate you, that sort of thing. That we can definitely tell you, but not your future.
So another question I have is, and this may not be the right forum for it, so let me know, but how does this take into account specific mental illnesses that actually impact the way people experience life, like neurotypical experience or schizophrenia or those kinds of very serious? Can this be used to help mitigate or diagnose that?
You know what? I really can't answer that question. I don't have the knowledge on that. I've never worked with it, so I really can't answer that question. What I can say, there's lots of things that can be shown. Just to give you this one example, I had a client 50 years old, and he was really in a state depressed, and nobody could help him. And he said to me, I'm his last resort. So he's a left dominant ear person. So this left ear is very sensitive to noise. This guy has been working in a tire manufacturer company for his whole life. And all that noise was just giving him so much frustration. And what the company done, they just took him out of the noise, and he is totally a different person. So just to give you a little bit of an example of how that can be having an influence on you as a person.
That's an interesting case study.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I'd like to just make a comment, if I may, going back to Eliana's comment about, or question about telling the future. Essentially, it's also, I've got another question that I'd like to weave in with that. If you can do this as young as a 5-year-old, or as you mentioned, we are born with this, and we are mature enough up to the age 5 then to do some kind of a test to find out what our pattern is. How flexible is this, in the sense that when you're 5, you're not going to be worried about when you're 25, the same things as when you're 25 or 55 or 75, whatever. So does this profile grow? Does it change? You said it doesn't change. We're born with it.
Yes. So
That's the one.
Sorry, yes.
The other was tied with Eliana, where surely it's, if you're born with a special pattern, there's nothing wrong or right about the pattern. It just depends on what you do with it, I would assume.
Yes, that's true. So to the first question, it's what you're born with is your natural dominance. But the effects obviously grow. And obviously, like when I've discussed the intelligences as well, if you know there's intelligences that you're not born with, you can actually develop them by doing some exercises and that kind of thing. So obviously, to be the best possible person, you will grow into it. Even in our feedback, there's a certain feedback for a primary school child, because there's different things that they know. Then when you get to choosing a career, and you need that knowledge and use that knowledge. So it's something that you use from a small age and you develop. And it's important that when you do the assessment, it's just not an assessment and get the information and you leave it. It's something you regularly have to go through, work on it to at the end of the day be the best possible person that you can be.
Sorry, well then, are you indicating, or are you saying that a person who has one of these profiles done, do they have to come back to get a refreshment or an update, or a, you know, how does one grow? How does one grow it by oneself, or do you have to keep on coming back?
Obviously,
to have
you
another assessment.
Obviously, you will have your report, but if you're in primary school, it would be limited. So you'll need to just have a discussion again when you're in high school and you're making choices. And then there is constant, some of my clients will once in a while just phone me when they want to make decisions. What do you think about this? So there's regular communication that can happen. But yes, it will grow because the reports is more involved when you're in high school or in as an adult.
Thank you.
Sorry, what I'll just do, I don't know, technology, it seems like this whole afternoon, or for us it's afternoon, yeah, has been a challenge, and why my background is not on, I don't know. So if you don't mind, I will just share my screen again for my details. If anybody would be interested to get more information, they're welcome to have a look at my website, brainprofiling.co.za, or they're more than welcome to send me an email at Heleen@brainprofiling.co.za. Anything else?
Yeah, I have more, maybe a little of a physical question. You had people who had a brain sort of on one side and the eye was connected to the other side of the brain, or the ear was connected. Is it possible that somebody could have both eyes to the same side of the brain, or both
Great
ears?
question.
To the same side?
No, it always works. It doesn't matter where your dominance is. So it doesn't matter whether you left eye or right eye dominant. Your eye always works. So the left eye will always work out of the right brain. The right eye will always work out of the left brain. So that has nothing to do with your dominance. The problem comes in once you stress and the non-dominant brain switch off. So if you right brain dominant and you have a right eye, right eyes are usually good detail seers. But if the left brain switches off, the eye now might have a problem in seeing detail. So that would be when kids misread the question. So they actually know the answer, but because they're stressing, the eye wasn't functioning well enough, and they've actually misread the question. I hope that's answering your question.
Yeah.
I know the optic nerve crosses. I'm aware of the optic nerve crosses physically, but I didn't know about the dominance.
Yeah.
What
Do
about
we know where this comes from? I mean, of course it's genetics, but why would we evolve this?
You know what? This is actually originally coming from Russia. First, in the Olympics, the Russians did very badly, and Russia is a very competitive nation, and that is where it started. They actually done so much research in dominance, and they used it for sports. So we can actually help kids in which sports are great for them. To give you an example, your Olympic swimmers, if I can guarantee you they have a dominance on each side. So they either have a left hand and a right foot, or a right hand and a left foot. Because if the dominance is only on one side, they will tend to just swim into that direction. So the non-dominant side must work so hard, and that can cost them milliseconds. While if they have a dominance on both sides, that also helps in balance. If you have a dominance on each side, your balance is so much better than when you have a dominance on one side, because your body would tend to go that way. The other example is in soccer. You can see most of your well-known soccer players are left foot players. Left foot people can change direction quickly. So in default, it's very easy for them to swerve and that kind of thing. While the right foot people would tend to, it's that when, you know, we in South Africa love our rugby, we get so cross when that guy's just running straight, and we think, could he not have swerved out? But if he's by default a right foot and not aware of it, he just wanted to run straight in that moment of stress.
That is mind-boggling.
It is it is really, really amazing. And we've had amazing results with kids. We have amazing results in companies for people to work better together and understand themselves better. And sometimes, you know, you would, sorry, do I still have a moment?
Yes.
Okay, great. So sometimes, to give you this an example, if you all right-sided, So yeah, the right brain, right hand, right eye, right foot, right ear. You would tend to be a left brainer by default because you work so much out of your left brain. And if you're in stress, you might try and do things in a left brain way. So you'll come home and you will repack things and you will do all these things to try and organize because you're frustrated and you think you are going to feel better. And then at the end of the day, you're actually right brain dominant and you are leaving behind this right brain that is so creative. So you neglect it. Instead, you should have just go do something creative, whether you like drawing or building or doing sewing work or painting, but just to get that right brain to be stimulated because the whole day you're busy in your left brain. So that is amazing if you understand what's happening with yourself so that you can change that. Anything else?
Eliana, do you have any last questions?
No, I am actually looking at your website now. So I'm going to
Okay,
do some of my
lovely.
own research. I wanted to thank you. My time here is up and I have another appointment that I have to go to, but I am so glad I got to hear your entire presentation.
Thank you, Jim. It's really nice to hear that. Wonderful. Get in contact with me if you need more information.
I will be in contact with you.
Lovely.
Eliana, good luck. And I'll talk to you all later. Looking forward to the
Thank
next
you.
gift.
Bye.
Eliana has a question. Is that your hand, Eliana?
So, wait. I forgot it.
I do that all the time, Eliana, except now I don't ever remember it again. Heleen could probably tell us how that happens.
Some stress happens and something didn't want to function. Another thing that could happen is you let a glass fall out of your hand if you're in stress and that hand is not operating correctly. Lots of times, you know, at the end of the day, what is important is we want whole brain function. So we want the left side and the right side to be effective as most as you can. So big things that's helping is when you work, it needs to be as light as possible so that there's lots of serotonin going into your body that will help you keep both the brains awake. Otherwise, if there's lots of darkness and we get melatonin in our body and then the non-dominant brain switches off. The other thing is movement or actually just talking to your brain. You know, sometimes when you try to think of a word and you can't get to think of the word, vocabulary is on the left brain, you just say, left brain, please, what's the word? And I promise you it will come back like this. We can actually manipulate our brain much more than we think we can.
Well,
Okay, I'm going to start practicing that and talking to my left brain more often, definitely. Thank you very much.
It's
Thank you. Okay, have we got the next person?
I think we have Marcelo and we
Oh,
can
Marcelo's
go and
there.
chat with him. I just want to say,
Okay.
Heleen, thank you. I've been listening in the background to your presentation and I've got to say it's way over my head intellectually, but I get some of the little pieces that I need to. And I appreciate your willingness to share with us today and to share an extended period while we had an absence too. I thank you very much for your time today and do come back and
Thank
share
you,
with us
Jim.
again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you what you guys are doing. As I said, I've been enjoying the whole of today watching all these wonderful innovative kids. So all this was very close to my heart and I can see how they're really just using the best of them. And yes, thank you all and be blessed.
Thank you.